Hello Sunshine. We're going to do today, we're going to do some carburetor testing. And of course we all know the bad rap aftermarket carburetors get. I have okay luck with them. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I have okay luck with them. But I'm not going to chew up a good carburetor on the lathe, so we bored a couple of them out, and I showed you that jig. And the first carburetor I bored out, guys, I pushed that I pushed that tube back this way. And these aftermarket carburetors, let me digress here a minute. They come in, they're different than the stock carburetor. The stock carburetor is tapered from this lip all the way to the center of that nozzle valve right there, okay? They're centered, or it's tapered from here to there. Now the aftermarket is only tapered from here to just a little bit farther in than that, and then it's got a parallel step, and then it comes up and then it goes through the bore. Well, I'll be honest with you, I hadn't paid attention to the stock carburetor first, so I duplicated that here, and we went pretty big. There's a problem with these nozzle jets in these. Normally you can just take, some people call it an emulsion tube, you can take a punch and drive them out. We've been through that, that's in the previous video. So we're actually running good Walbro valves in there now, jet valves, and I got them working. This in here, we had some growing pains along the way, guys, to be honest with it. The second one I tapered like the stock one, and I didn't go as big on the bore. I just didn't take it out. I took it to 550 thousandths. It started at 525, brought it to 550. I brought this one to 575. That was the first one I did, and I thought, well, maybe I was having problems with it. You can tell by this little pack here, these, I've heard them called emulsion tubes. It's a nozzle and check valve. It's a valve nozzle, some will call it, valve jet, some will call it, in parts diagrams. They're actually serviceable in these carbs. They always have been. And it's got a little check valve in there. You shouldn't be able to blow through it. It only lets fuel go that way. You ought to be able to suck through that. Don't get it down there in your gizzard. But there's the one that come out of that Chinesium carburetor, and the serviceable ones you was always able, you just drove them through, you drove them all the way through into the bore, and then you had it out and you either replaced it with these or just serviced it. The screens and the check valves, all of them, I got all them parts, or the whole check valve, you could service them, right? Well, you drove it through and then you serviced it and then you drove it back through again, or drove it back in. Well, this in here, this Chinesium one is like 86 thousandths here and 92 thousandths up here. Is actually set in a stepped hole, so when you drive it through, this top part just shaves that aluminum right out and it can't go back in. Now, if I can figure out a way to push him out without damaging that check, that might open up some possibilities. But we got that bit, and I don't know if it's going to drive. It may be too tight. I'm working on a knockoff Chinesium carburetor, and that valve nozzle, you got to press it out and do the throat, of course. It is oversized to what the Chinesium ones are, and I wrecked the Chinesium one getting it out. I got new Walbro ones to put in it, and the closest drill bit I got is about 10 thousandths oversized. So we're going to hook up our little tool post grinder and see about taking some of that off her. If you guys hadn't seen this in another video, how I built this, it's in one of them. I'm going to dress that stone up, and I already have, but I dressed that stone up just a little bit. And we should be able to run in there and I almost wish this was turning the other way, because that cutter's turning. Oh, I don't think I was touching it. Heck, I wasn't. I better get my glasses on. I felt a little vibration in my hands and I thought I was touching it. There we go. And it sounds out around just because we're only touching the edge of that drill bit there. So I don't know if it'll touch it or not, but we're going to try it. It's taking the chromium off of it, or the gold, whatever it is. And we ain't got to take a whole lot off of it. And we'll probably wear a stone just about as fast as anything. But we'll get this drill bit down to where it'll be the right bore. And I zeroed this. You can see the line right here where I was running my dial indicator. I zeroed this 3-jaw chuck in that 4-jaw chuck. But these little mini lathes, yeah, they're fairly precise, but they ain't within 1,000th or nothing. And we probably have it. Dadgum flies are sticking today. I'll beat myself up over it. We'll get that measured here in a minute. No DRO or nothing. Heck, I'll probably go undersize with it. Accidental. And it was so close, it ain't gonna take much. We are touching it all the way around now. But these drills ain't perfectly straight either. We're about 205 thousandths. But anyhow, you get the idea. I'm gonna make my own drill, or my own size to fit that. We got it in pretty good shape. So we'll get out the 9-pound sledgehammer and see if we can drive that down through that aluminum. I think she's gonna go, guys. It sounds like we're doing a lot of beating, but we ain't hitting her too bad. I know all you proper guys are probably shitting purple curly worms right now, be beating on this carburetor, but I'm a hack, so I get to do stuff like this. I kind of feel bad for you guys that have to do factory stuff or send stuff out to customers and know, hey, that's going back in the bush. I don't know why I'm picking up that word. That's y'all's word. Back in the woods is what we always called it here. But that was worse on it than beating on it. Yeah, you guys just got to send the saw back in the bush or back in the woods or up a tree and have a customer pay you and get a good, he deserves a good product for the amount of money he's spending, right? And I don't care if it's just a little bit or not. He deserves a decent product, doesn't he? I get to play with stuff like this, and I ain't trying to be a jerk. I kind of feel sorry for the guys that don't get to just play with stuff and do goofy stuff. The saws I build, I tell people, hey, I tried something new on there. If she don't work, I want her back, because I want to either try it again or I ain't gonna do that next time. Here, be my guinea pig. So, guys, we're guinea pigging on the carburetor. That's the first one I did, and I ain't got it running yet. And the same way with the emulsion tube, and I drilled it out too big. So when I got done painting my toenails, I took and painted that up on the inside too, so it'd seal good. It's snug, but it's not tight enough to seal. And I tried setting it in there with fingernail polish, but honestly, I'm not getting fuel through that high jet nozzle on this one. So I took another carburetor, which I'd already ruined by driving out the emulsion tube the other way. This is the one we've been running on the saw. And guys, I still got the factory carburetor over there. And it runs. So I'm just playing. Let's see what happens. Oh, the tedious part now to get this needle in there and spring and all them doodads. And I just dropped the spring. Well, and I didn't even see myself drop it. I went over to get this little vise, and I use it a lot just to hold them carburetors still so I ain't chasing them. And I come back, my spring was gone. I know you guys can't see, but I need my finger in there. I'm sorry. I come back and that spring was gone. You ought to see this floor. It's wood floor in here, guys, and it just is full of oil and all kinds of doodads. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. Let's see, it's a WT carburetor, so that's going to be, yeah, that right there. We can actually raise that just a smidgen. Well, kicks. Just brushing it. Each one of these gauges, W's got a Walbro on. You find your deal and you lay that across there, and that ought to just hit that metering lever. And it does, so we're good there. We're gonna put her, oh dear. 57, yeah, I seen that. Yeah, I'm getting ready to go cut hay here in just a minute. I could just tell I wasn't near as hot here a minute ago, so. Yeah, I'm just putting these last 4 little screws in there, and then I'm headed to cut hay. Thank you. So, yeah, you heard what's going on. We're putting the last 4 little screws in here, and we're going to cut hay. It's, I don't know, 24th maybe, August. I don't know when the video will come out. I always say that. Because I don't know. I piddle with this when I can, waiting on the humidity to burn off to go do hay this morning. So been messing with this same carburetor for 3 days. Well, 2 of them. Hit and miss. Ain't got it worked out just so yet. And this one here may be the same boat, but we got her all back together. If you got you one of them, little Donnie Walker turned me on to those. Them's pretty handy, and I do like checking my. She's holding about 7 pounds, and there's a little hole right under here if you don't know it. You ought to be able to blow in that, and that works that diaphragm. And your pressure drops, right? If it don't, we got problems. You guys get the idea. Well, we just got out of the hay field, giving myself a haircut, getting ready to go get in the rainmaker here for a minute. Put that carburetor on there. Don't have the air filter or the choke on it. But I got it started, tuned a little bit. We'll tune it better on dyno. Figured I'd show you guys. Seemed to snappy it up a little. Oh, let's turn it on. she needs adjusted a little bit. But there you go. Let's get her on dyno, see if we gained anything, but not right now. I got stuff to do. I gotta go fix a hog water tank. I was just cooling off out of the hayfield. Took my shirt off. Sorry about that. Not very professional, but it is what it is. Sorry. Anyhow, that was the startup on it. I'm happy as a clam. It's working. Got it bored out and it's working. And I've just run this one here on the dyno. Guys, it was hot. I was sweaty. Just come out of the hayfield, had my shirt off. Wasn't feeling too sporty as far as being on the camera. So I'm gonna put this second one back on there, and we'll see if we can get her fired up for you, and we'll get it on dyno. It's about time to put her back in the wood, don't you think? We may have to do that too. We ain't done that in a little while. And I haven't put it in the wood since opening up the lower transfers. We know that. I don't know when that'll be video wise, but that was just 2 or 3 days ago getting the lower transfers opened. I guess I better put my throttle linkage on there, oughtn't I? I ought to have my glasses on there, not even in my pocket. I'll be lucky if I can find the bolt holes here. Yeah, pretty well. All right, let me get this started up and get it tuned up enough to at least run. Now, we'll see what she's doing. Carburetor with pink fingernail polish, run one. Well, I guess if a little bit's good, a lot's got to be better, right? Well, not necessarily on carbs. Now, the pink carb that was the biggest, 575 thousandths, it did get us the most horsepower. It gained us a little bit over our previous version. No carb mod, just before the carb mods, which was just the wide and lowers. We was up to 4.78 horsepower at 11,039 RPMs. We gained 100th of horsepower, well within the margin of error, but we dropped 800 RPMs, give or take, quick dirty math, on that 575 thousandths carburetor. The 550 thousandths carburetor now, we lost a little bit of horsepower. We'll say we lost 7 hundredths of a horsepower, but we gained nearing 100 RPM, 60 RPMs, 65 RPMs, which isn't much, but we gained a bunch of torque down low. And if you look at this, we really lengthened the curve out. Like I say, the blue line's a previous iteration. That's the comparison. That's the baseline just before this here mod. Now the green line, that's our 515 thousandths carb, which was the least horsepower. The red line is the most horsepower, but look, we didn't come in till late. Now the bigger carbs did give us more torque down low, and the red carburetor, the red line, the carburetor had the pink in it up to 575 thousandths. It was the most torque out of all three, hands down, no problem. There's an error there. I should say 2.83 foot-pounds of torque. I fat-fingered the keyboard. Putting this chart in, or putting this legend in at the side. So that was the most torque, most horsepower, but all of it at a lower RPM. So as much as I like torque, the max torque's always down in here 7,000, 8,000, 6,000 range, right? But our cut, we're hardly ever cutting down there. Shouldn't be. Well, I shouldn't say you shouldn't be. Cut wherever you want. I tend to try to keep it up here. Now you'll notice the carb that we put 25 thousandths into and made it 550 thousandths bore. It come in earlier, didn't quite come as tall, like I say, 7/100 of a horsepower, but stayed to work later and kept that torque real close to the bigger carbs. So the carb mod did do us some good. It did us a lot of good. And what you're going to notice, I'm going to run this down so where you just see horsepower only. It makes the lines a little bigger and separates them out a little bit. You can see we came to work early on the carb with 550 thousandths bore. And you talk about a line that's as flat as them possums sleeping at the side of the road. That baby stretched us out on torque and RPM range, which brings us to which one of these is going to cut the best. This one, the green line, the mildest carb mod, gained us RPMs, lost us horsepower, and gained us torque. Now, even though it's a little bit less horsepower than the other two, that one's going to cut. That one's going to feel like, if you just had it in your log dyno, this one's going to hands down win. And we'll bring up the cut factor, which for you guys that know, we're running 2,000 RPM range and factoring that in with chain speed over 2,000 RPM range, meaning ground zero is peak horsepower and we go 1,000 above and 1,000 below. So the wide and lower was 4.78 on our cut factor, and this cut factor translates pretty good to the log. If you see it over here, it's actually, to me, better than the dyno. You got to have the dyno to get this, but it's actually better than the dyno as far as telling you how that saw is going to feel in your hands. So the paint carb is the 575 thousandths. I just got it listed as paint carb because it's got pink fingernail polish in it. It actually lost. It's going to feel weaker in your hands, even though that was the highest horsepower. Now the carb with 515 thousandths or 550 thousandths, it's quite a bit faster. It picked up almost two tenths of a point on the cut factor, which is pretty significant, guys. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you'd like to see.